I'm 5 years old, sitting at home with my toys, my imagination running wild. I hear the news coming out of the television my father is watching. I hear the sounds of cooking coming out of the kitchen. And basically, the house is serene, quiet. There wasn't much talk at home when I was growing up. As I'm sitting with my toys, as my imagination is running wild, I hear the door open and visitors, relatives, came to visit us. Now, I was 5 years old and I was shocked that visitors came to visit us. I was so shocked and afraid. I went and I hid under the table. Now, in Morocco, we have these round wood tables with a tablecloth that goes all the way down to the floor. So when you go inside, nobody can see you. And I remember I was under the table hiding, and the visitors, my relatives, they were asking me to come out, but I couldn't go out because I was so scared. I was so shy. I'm telling you this story because I want you to know that deep down, I'm actually an introverted person. I am not an extrovert by any stretch of the imagination. Deep down, I am an introvert. I live in my head most of the time. I live, um, my imagination is wild. I keep thinking all the time. I keep thinking of different things. I am more of an abstract thinker than I am a, how to say, an extroverted communicator, if that makes sense. So when I was a kid, I was an introvert. I was shy. I would never go and initiate conversation. I would never go and talk to strange kids, kids I don't know. However, there was a 10% or 15% of me, of my personality, that is actually naughty and kind of a troublemaker. So I enjoyed being naughty and I enjoyed being a troublemaker. And that part of me didn't come out until I was maybe in the fourth grade. In the fourth grade. Now, in the fourth grade, I was quite popular in class to the point where they actually made me president of class. I don't know what the fuck that was. I had no responsibilities. I was basically a fucking kid, but they made me the president of class because I was extremely popular. However, like outside of school, at home, or when I go outside, I am actually a shy person, a shy kid. Okay? There are very few moments when I become extroverted, when I become outspoken and expressive, so to speak. I also enjoyed individual activities more than group activities. That doesn't mean I didn't participate in any group games and any group activities. Absolutely not. I played a lot of soccer when I was a kid. I played basketball. I played a lot of group games with my friends. But I was drawn into individual games and activities most of the time. So I was into drawing. I like to draw. I like to play video games. I like to play card games like Yu-Gi-Oh card games, Beyblade, Yo-Yo. All these kind of games I really enjoyed and I loved them. And I was drawn into these things most of the time. That's not to mention that I had some weird interests that many of my friends at the time and many of my classmates, very few of my friends and classmates had. Like I enjoyed different cartoons, different shows, different games. So I was peculiar a little bit in this sense compared to most of my classmates and most of my friends. Now, this was in primary school. Middle school, I started doing breakdancing. I became more known in school. I had more friends. I had more people who know me. But still, I was an introvert. Like outside of school, outside of that environment, I do not initiate conversation. I do not speak. I mean, even with family gatherings, and if we go to meet family, I don't speak. I just listen. I rarely speak. I rarely tell my stories. I rarely say what I think. I would just keep quiet and think and probably respond to people in my head. In high school, I started making magic videos on YouTube, believe it or not. This was back in 2007, 2008. So in high school, I started making magic videos, and they kind of made me famous in my hometown and quite popular also in high school. And so, because of this reputation that I got from the videos, people would initiate conversations with me, and I was popular at school. I was famous. I was the famous, popular magician guy, you know. So I had a lot of fun in high school because of that. However, I believe that if I wasn't doing magic, if I wasn't doing something extremely special, I wouldn't have been as famous or as popular as I was. That's not to mention that in high school, I was extremely naughty. Absolutely fucking naughty in class. Same in a little bit in middle school, in primary school, starting from fourth grade. But again, I have to repeat it. Once I leave that environment where people know me because of my YouTube videos, because of all the other people that I know, maybe because of the environment of school, I don't know. Once I leave that environment, I am not an extroverted person at all. I keep to myself, and I don't initiate conversation. I don't make new friends. Nothing. And I started to realize in high school that being that kind of an introverted person is not going to serve me well in life. Especially at the time I wanted to become a magician. If you want to become a magician, if you want to create content, you have to actually talk to strangers. So when I was in high school, I was actually starting to make, like I said, I started making magic videos, and I wanted to make street magic videos. And in 2008, 2009, in Morocco, I would go outside with my friend holding a camera, and I would try to talk to strangers and show them a magic trick. My friend would film. Now, I used to feel extremely scared to approach people, to the point where I would go sometimes and I would stand there for an hour or two, unable to strike up a conversation with a stranger. That's how fucking scared I was of talking to strangers and initiating conversation. But I pushed through and I did it many times, and I filmed a lot of videos, and they turned out to be really good. And they actually contributed to my popularity in high school because I was doing something entirely different and unseen in my environment in Morocco at that time. And that's when I started to realize that being social, being extroverted, and being able to talk or perform to a group is a demonstration of high value, that you are a high value person if you can speak to an audience, if you can entertain a group, if you can express yourself to people. If you are an extroverted person, you do well socially. If you are an introverted person, you're not going to do well. Now, maybe you can do well if you are good in other things. I mean, there are a lot of computer developers and artists and so on and so forth who are doing extremely well. They are not extroverts. All right. But if you really want to succeed in life in all aspects, not just in your career, although being extroverted also helps in your career, if you want to succeed in every aspect in your life, financially, socially, and professionally, you have to be extroverted when when it's required. Now, I'm saying this to tell you, now as a YouTuber, I'm talking to a camera, which is something that an introverted person usually can't do, because talking to a camera is, how to say, is not easy for most people. They can't talk to a camera for most people. I certainly didn't find it easy when I first started. I still remember when I did my first performance in front of an audience, Magic. I felt like my knees were going to collapse. I was scared shitless. That's how difficult it is to stand in front of an audience and to speak. However, I did overcome that stage, and now I can actually perform and give a speech in front of an audience. Of course, I still get stage fright before the presentation or before the performance, but that's normal. Everybody gets it. But still, I can do it now. However, deep down, like I've said, I am still an introvert. Like most of the time, I'm quiet. Most of the time, I live in my head. Most of the time, I talk to myself. It's very difficult for me to. I need a lot of energy to actually be outspoken and extroverted all the time. Now, I'm not saying I have to be that all the time. What I'm saying is that if you are a man, you need to learn how to be extroverted when it's required. If you want to talk to girls, you have to be able to be extroverted. You have to be entertaining. You have to know how to socialize and how to get the attention of a group and how to tell good stories and how to speak and how to be a good conversationalist, not just with an individual, but to a group. I noticed that I can be good at conversation when I'm talking with a person one on one. But when there is a group of people, and I don't know what anybody thinks about something, for example, I rarely participate. If I really don't have to, I rarely participate in the conversation. I usually just keep answering in my head, or maybe I'm going to talk to one person. Now, that is good and bad, depends on the situation. Sometimes I'm really tired and I'm not in the mood to talk. But if you wanna if you want to be a successful person, if you want to get if you want to score social points, that is, if you want to be perceived as a high value person, you have to be able to talk to groups and you have to be able to maintain a conversation and to tell stories to a group of people. It's extremely important. Now, how did I go from being a shy kid who hides under the table and scared of meeting relatives to becoming the person I am today, who can make YouTube videos, who can do presentations, who can perform in front of people, who can talk to strangers. Now, I am not 100% extrovert. I still live in my head most of the time, but I can actually activate extroversion when I need it. I can activate it and I can make it serve my interests when I need it. How did I do that? Now, of course, you have to go through some painful phases. You have to start to initiate conversation with people. You have to know how to make small talk interesting. You have to go through shitty experiences, basically. You have to do the presentation. You have to fuck it up. You have to talk to this girl and you have to fuck it up and you're going to hate yourself for it. You have to try and talk to a group of people, try to tell a story. You're going to fuck it up and move on. So what I'm saying is you have to take action and you have to be prepared to look like an idiot if you want to improve your conversation skills and if you want to improve your extroversion. Now, here's your introversion, here is your extroversion. You have to, balance them. You have to balance them, especially if you are an introvert like myself. And I'm talking here to men. I mean, if you are a girl and you are an introverted girl, that's actually a plus. Men tend to like girls who don't speak that much, girls who are, quiet, or when they speak, they don't speak in an extroverted way. But for a guy, shyness in guys is absolutely, I would say, disgusting. Not just disgusting, but it's a demonstration of low value. That means you didn't have much experience in life. That means you are not confident. That means you are not social. That means you don't have experience with people. You don't have experience. And when I say experience with people, both professionally and socially. So it's just a demonstration of low value. So if you really want to make it in life, you have to take steps into becoming more extroverted. Now, guys who are extroverted, they have an extreme advantage when it comes to this. But of course, so much extroversion also has its cons, because when you are extremely extroverted, you don't have the ability to sit your ass down and learn something, or be quiet when you need to be quiet, because some people talk way too much to the point where people hate them. There is a law in economics, I talked about it before, it's called the law of diminishing marginal utility. In other words, the diminishing satisfaction of a certain product or units of good. And your speech is also good if you think about it. And the more you speak, and the more you speak too much, the more people will go to, the less people are going to appreciate your speech. So you kind of have to balance it. You don't have to be the guy who babbles too much nonstop, but you also shouldn't be the guy who doesn't talk at all, doesn't express any opinions, doesn't express any taste, doesn't have any experiences, doesn't have any stories, doesn't have anything to say. You are just like a puppet sitting there doing nothing, waiting for people to tell you what to do. That's extremely low value, and you shouldn't be doing that. So now you might be wondering how, if you are an introverted guy, and you are wondering how can you overcome your shyness, how can you overcome your personality traits, which I believe is somewhat outside of your control. I mean, if you are born introverted, you are born introverted. It's like if you are born blonde or if you are born with blue eyes. You can't really change it. You can't really change the blueness of your eyes, but you can change your personality. You can work on it. So if you are an introverted guy, I would suggest you will try to initiate conversation with strangers. Now, it doesn't have to be in any context. Just if you go to the convenience store, try to initiate conversation with the guy at the convenience store. If you go to I don't know, at school or at work, try to talk or tell a story to your colleagues. Maybe you can try and talk to strangers at public transportation, whatever. But you have to start talking. You have to go through the painful phase where you fuck up. Because it's okay to fuck up with strangers. They're not gonna remember you. Nobody cares. You're gonna fuck up with a stranger, you're gonna feel awkward, and that's it. 5 minutes, they will forget about you. And then you move on to your next target and you practice more. That's the first thing you have to do. So you have to learn how to talk to strangers. The second thing you can do is you can watch people who are good speakers. I've said in my previous video what I said. I will turn you into a pro speaker, how to become a speaker, a good speaker, which is basically watch other people who are good at speaking, and maybe you can start to learn from them, or at first at least imitate them. That also helps. What you can also do is I know this might sound nerdy, I've never done it to be honest, but it's something that you can do. You can even try to write stories, like things that happen to you in your life. Write them down, learn them by heart, and start pulling them up and tell them when you are in a group and you want to participate. But of course you have to perfect the delivery, otherwise you're going to sound like you're reciting a story that you memorize by heart. That's not what you want. You want to look spontaneous. You want to look like someone who just speaks. Now at first maybe you have to rely on memorizing your stories, but then later on when you develop the confidence to talk to a group of people and to tell a story, you wouldn't need to write or to memorize a story. You will just talk spontaneously. So yeah, if you are a guy, if you are an introverted guy, you gotta do something about it. You will definitely not score in your career or in your social life by being an introverted guy, by being a shy guy. Shyness in guys is not a good thing. Shyness in girls is a good thing, but shyness in guys, it's absolutely not a good thing. It's a demonstration of low value. Just tell people that you have no experience in life, you didn't meet many people, you have nothing interesting to say. Basically, you are a boring person, and nobody wants to spend their time with a boring person. Okay? So that's all I want to say in this video. If you have any thoughts that you want to share with me, you can write them in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel and see you in the next one. Have a good one. Have a good day.